It's back. I'm sorry, I just had to. Man, this has been one of the more wilder weeks in sports that I've seen.
Yeah, I would definitely say so.
And it was hard because this is an hour-long show and so much has broken that it's so hard. And not to mention Selection Sunday.
hmm
Um, there's so much that could have been said today. There's so much to talk about in 1 hour. And chances are we could take up at least two talking about half the stuff that came up this week. So welcome to Sunday Morning Tinkle. Let's not waste any time. Coming up on the show, of course, we'll talk the end of the baseball lockout, hence the reason why I'm wearing my Twins shirt. But, of course, let's start with the Tinkle rundown. Jason, you're up.
Oh, that's right. Really to no big surprise, we knew that Aaron Rodgers, the money was on the table. He wanted a big contract. The only way he was going to stay is if he, got the money. Well, Aaron, better, you know, be careful what you wish for because what is it? Do you want to be the highest paid player or do you want help? Well, he kind of took the back road and took the money and almost ran. Aaron Rodgers is now the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, signing a 4-year, $200 million contract. 153 of that is guaranteed. Holy shit. Damn.
I know. Like,
Ryan and Danny getting that money just to lose in the NFC Championship again.
there it is. All right. But yeah, here's the thing. If anyone in the league deserves to be the highest paid player, I'm sorry, it is Aaron Rodgers. That's all I'm going to say based on the MVPs alone. Super Bowl wise, that might bring down his value, but and again, you mentioned you want help or do you want the money? This is one where I think Rodgers has no room to complain in terms of that. And of course, should I note that the actual figures are not confirmed yet.
Mm-hmm.
He did say that on the Pat McAfee show that it is not necessarily true. It's a little bit more team friendly than that. So something.
Okay, that's a little bit more team friendly. Then why would they say that it's a $200 million contract?
Well, keep in mind, Schefter's been wrong a lot the last few years.
True. Someone tells me it's probably more so a 4-year, $100 million contract where he's getting like $20 million instead of $50 million a year.
Let's face it, Schefter was wrong about Aaron Rodgers wanting out of Green Bay. He was wrong. Okay, it proved with this deal. Okay, Rodgers wouldn't have signed this deal if he was that upset with the franchise.
True.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I get Tom Brady did retire, but he was wrong about Tom Brady too. He broke it beforehand, and he was wrong.
And then the official they did, but we haven't really truly know if he's actually retired.
He's retired. He's retired. I think it's all just to string people along. I think it's just the media wanting something to talk about at this point.
Yeah, probably they do. Honestly, with everything else that's going on, I think they have a hell of a lot to talk about right now other than just Tom Brady.
And you know what? With everything going on in the national news, I want them to keep stirring that pot because you know what? I'm sick of... No offense. Obviously, what's going on in the world is bad. It's very bad. And it sucks that we have to wake up and see this every morning. But, I would rather be talking about, is Tom Brady retired? Is he not? I feel like that's the debate I would rather have than what the hell is going on across the country or across the world.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So, you know what? It's a welcome distraction. That's all I'm gonna
Well, I
say.
will say this now. Yes, Aaron, you deserve it.
Yes.
Packers, you probably did the right thing as franchise tag Devontae Adams for right now. It's a move where, ha ha ha, he thought he was going to go elsewhere, but we got him tagged. So, at least for right now, they have Rodgers and Devontae Adams still with the Packers.
Yep.
Rodgers, after signing a big ass deal, you better hope for big old things to come in Green Bay, or you could look like the biggest jackass ever. That's all I gotta say.
Yep. It's
So,
now a prove-it contract.
yeah, exactly, pretty much. In a big shocking news, we knew that Russell Wilson was looking for a trade. He cut all ties with Seattle Seahawks on social media. So I thought, okay, this seems a little odd. Is this going to lead into anything? Well, it did lead to something. He got traded to the Denver Broncos, and in return, Seattle gets Drew Lock, Noah Fant, and a whole bunch of draft picks. So I hate to say it, Seattle, you really severely downgraded. But if you get a couple of those draft picks, you might be, depending on what happens, you might be actually the winners of this trade. Because if you draft like a stud quarterback and some surrounding draft picks around it, in a few years, you're going to be like, heh, you can have Russell Wilson. He's washed up. We have a young star that we can build around. So we'll have
Tyler
to
Lockett. Tyler Lockett is on the trade block too, should we note. So it sounds like Seattle's cleaning house.
Yeah, I think it's. I was even saying it before, like outside of this channel. I really do think that this is going to be the time where Pete Carroll is going to be eventually gone from the team, and that Seattle is going to go in a rebuilding cycle, which I don't think is very beneficial for Pete Carroll whatsoever. So whoever would take over that team afterwards has a lot of draft capital and a lot to build around. So it could be a very high destination place after this year, but it all depends on the direction they want to go in, because I hate to say it, we've seen how that is. We've seen how Drew Lock has done in his career. I just don't see Seattle being that kind of team that's going to go very far. Honestly, if I had to make my prediction right now, they might be fighting for the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah. Going to the Denver side of things, I don't know if you saw First Take, or it might have been Stephen A's own show for that matter. He was asked to rank the top 5 quarterbacks in the AFC after that Russell Wilson trade. He had Russell Wilson number 5, Herbert number 4, Burrow number 3, number 2 Josh Allen, number 1 Patrick Mahomes. In terms of accomplishments, Burrow would technically be number 2 to Patrick Mahomes, and then Russell Wilson would actually be number 3, and then Allen and Herbert at the bottom in terms of like hardware. Just saying. Let's be fair there. In terms of hardware and talent, that's how it would rate. But I had said, you know what? Flip the 4 and the 5, because as much as Herbert has accomplished in his first 2 years, I don't think he's better than Russell Wilson just yet. I wouldn't say that. And then I said flip 1 and 2, because I think Josh Allen proved this year he's the better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. The result wasn't there.
I will say this too, depending on what Denver does too. I mean, I think that they have a hell of a lot of upside. They finally have a quarterback that they can depend on. They have some good, strong talent. They get rid of Noah Fant, which honestly it is what it is. But there is a lot of speculation. I'm not saying that it's official, that it's going to happen, but who's to say if they get number 58, or if they get Von Miller back again, who's to say that they couldn't be a a potential contender in the AFC again, but who the hell knows? I'm not going to say anything until it's happening.
All this to finish third in the AFC West. That's honestly my prediction, but things could change.
After seeing what the Chargers did, probably you're right.
And I'm saying, well, we're going to see, and I'm not afraid to make this prediction now as opposed to in August or September when we're talking the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. There's going to be 3 teams under a blanket and then one that's going to be just miserably behind. And if you know what I'm talking about, or if you know what I mean, if you don't know what I mean, I'm talking the Raiders. They're going to be the team that's woefully behind everybody else.
Well, yeah, I think that the Raiders are going to be last in the AFC West until they can do something that, shocks the whole world. Yep. Again, I'm going to say this now. It all depends on what happens with free agency when it starts March 16th.
Yeah, and I'm also going to say, before you move on, I also want to just say don't necessarily write off Drew Lock just yet. Drew Lock's rookie year, it was pretty decent. Okay, but then look at the whole new coaching staff he got his second year. And let's face it, Vic Fangio really didn't do much to help develop Drew Lock. So
right.
It'll be interesting to see. I think Brian Schottenheimer's still the offensive coordinator there. So it'll be interesting.
Very well. I will say this now. It all depends on if Tyler Lockett stays, because Drew Lock might end up doing successful there in Seattle. I mean, he gets his former tight end back. He gets DK Metcalf. He keeps Lockett. Be a pretty good, decent roster that he's around. So
the only downside is he doesn't have no line in Seattle, and he's going against 2 of the great pass rusher, or 6 great pass rushers on 3 different teams. Just say it. I'm actually 5 because we don't know exactly where Chandler Jones is going.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I guess I'll go into my last takeaway. So Bobby Wagner is a big surprise, because now apparently Seattle has absolutely nobody from that 2012 Legion of Boom team. Bobby Wagner got released by the Seahawks after 10 years with a team. I guess that's really no shock with the direction that Seattle's going in, but as you see it right now, is there much value in a 31-year-old linebacker that kind of gone?
There's a leadership aspect.
I think that he would be the one team that I could honestly see, and I'm not just saying that because I like them. I honestly, the thing that makes the most sense to me, I think, is Buffalo. And here's why I say this. 31 years old, he could be a captain, a leader of the defense. Nothing against Tremaine Edmonds, but I think that him and Tremaine and Milano would be one hell of a lethal combination in the middle. There. You have Bobby Wagner, you have Tremaine Edmonds, then you have Matt Milano. I'm sorry, you're not getting through that linebacking core if you bring in Bobby Wagner. I think you can honestly bring him in for like 1 or 2 years on like a short little contract. And I think it would make the most sense as far as, cap space, even though I know the Bells didn't really clear up a lot of cap space. They did get rid of AJ Klein. They did get rid of John Feliciano. So it helped out some cap space wise. Of course, free agency is going to start soon, so they're probably going to drop off a lot of the talent that they do currently have. Who's to say that Cole Beasley couldn't get traded, and that clears up some more cap space too.
Who's he going to want to ride with is going to be the big thing, because we all know at this stage of his career, he's going to ride along for a ring.
Yeah, I think so, honestly, and not gonna lie, Buffalo are currently, if you are watching any kind of sports betting or do that, they are currently the favorite to win the Super Bowl at a plus 50 odds. So if you look at it and see that right now, they might
Mm.
be the best upside team. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Rams are, still going to be a perennial,
Rams are the
Super Bowl
favorite
team
until
with
they're
their
beat.
feet. But if you're looking at the AFC, you don't think that there's really a true contender there right now. The Chiefs, yes, they're good. Bengals, they're good. They got to the Super Bowl this past season. The Bills, depending on what they do with everything, if they go after some of these top, you know, free agents and say like they bring in a Terry McLaurin, they bring or not Terry McLaurin, was it not him, Christian Kirk. If they bring in a player like Christian Kirk who's got a lot of upside and speed to him, bring in a Bobby Wagner, I think that's talent that could really help out the team in a big factor because you could potentially even trade Cole Beasley for like a couple draft picks and you know or a player that makes the most sense. I thought if Bobby Wagner didn't get released, it wouldn't have shocked me if somehow Seattle got Cole Beasley for say Bobby Wagner or some kind of trade deal with that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. As
Yeah.
far as that, I think Buffalo makes the most sense. If not, like a team like
See, I think Kansas City's going to be in the running. Something just tells me they
they
might
very
be.
well could
Because
be.
let's face it, there's going to be pressure on Kansas City to rebuild that defense this offseason, especially now that they're. Let's face it, it's going to be a waiting game to see who the Broncos bring in. That's going to be the first matter to address. The other thing is, you're not winning the cap space war between LA and Denver. You're literally barely ahead of the cap. So there's really no wiggle room to get the big star free agents. The biggest thing you
And
can sell is Patrick Mahomes.
who's to say that like the Chargers couldn't go after Bobby Wagner? They get Bobby Wagner. They
I
have
don't
who they
think
have.
so.
I hate to say it, that defense is just going to be
From
stacked.
I'll tell you who I think they're gonna get when we get to my part. But I just want to
Okay.
say that I think Bobby Wagner. Honestly, it's gonna come down to the Chiefs and the Bills and the AFC. Don't even be shocked if the 49ers grab him to
Yeah, I
bolster
mean they
that
have Fred
defense.
Warner and stuff like that. So I
But
mean, I doubt it. They have a lot of talent on that defense anyway. So I don't know. We'll happen to see. I think free agency is going to be definitely one to keep an eye on. That's all I'm gonna say, and that's done with my takeaways. So
well,
take it away, Ryan.
you
No pun
mean
intended.
you made me tease like I was gonna be waiting a little bit, but hey, we'll get right into it now. So big news dropped Thursday. Believe it or not, Jason and I were texting most of the day. We're recording on Thursday. We're sitting there, we're like, man, the baseball lockout just ended. Russell Wilson got traded. Selection Sunday is, believe it or not, today when you're watching this. I'm like, I actually texted him right before that deal, and I'm like, what's next? And I've learned now, don't ever ask what's next. But in this case, it was a good thing of what's next. Khalil Mack is going to LA to join the Chargers. They get him for a second and a sixth round pick. And you know what? I'm happy about it. I'm really happy about it. I know there are people who say, oh, Khalil Mack is washed. Look at what he had coaching him in Chicago. Okay? You've got the best of both worlds with Brandon Staley because he's a defensive coach with an offensive background. Okay? And he's got Joey Bosa right next to him. I believe Uchenna Nwosu is coming back too. So now we got three. If that's the case, we got 3-star pass rushers, or 2-star pass rushers and a speed rusher right there in
Mhm.
Uchenna Nwosu. That is going to spell terror on the defensive line.
Oh yeah, of
Oh,
course.
and should I add this as well? The Chargers are the favorite currently to land J.C. Jackson, and it sounds like a deal will be made the day that free agency opens up. So We're going all in on defense, and I love it.
There's nothing bad. There's nothing wrong with that either.
And, should I also add, it wasn't in the notes, but I guess I'll keep it going with this. The other thing, Mike Williams just got a 3-year, $60 million deal with $40 million of it guaranteed. Here's the thing. I like that we got him back because once I heard the reports, the Chiefs are interested in Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams, I'm like, dear God, please no. Because for a fact, if he went to the Chiefs, he was going to be a top 5 receiver in the league.
Yeah.
Okay. Think about...
Especially with Tyreek Hill and everybody else that they have.
But no, think about all the talent that Patrick Mahomes... I mean, here's the thing. I know I give Patrick Mahomes grief, but think about that talent, that big arm that he's got, and Mike Williams, whose abilities are to just jump over any coverage he's facing with his height alone. He catches all those 50-50 balls. Patrick Mahomes would have probably an insane 75% completion rate and be the league MVP again, just because of Mike Williams.
Yeah, wouldn't shock me.
Okay. Whereas Justin Herbert, he has a big arm, but it's not, his is more smart passing than anything else. And, I'm just glad to get him back, but boy, I'm telling you, I still want Allen Robinson. Come on. Make a deal.
Again, free agency is right around the corner, so who the hell knows what could happen. I will say he might be the first free agent off free agency, probably day one, not gonna lie.
All the crap that people have talked about Tom Telesco over the last 5-6 years, and you want to know something? He's building a prove it roster right now. Okay?
Right.
Let's face it. The way the Chargers are building right now, this is a prove it year. Okay? There's no more excuses of, what could have, should have, would have been. It's, we need to go out and win now. And it's not going to be easy.
There was a lot of pressure on the Chargers to have to do what it needed to be done to try to bring in talent to win now. So,
we might have to talk about this later. Who has more pressure, the Broncos or the Chargers, to be the better team based on the current transactions? I don't think it's going to outweigh what the Broncos have to go through, but it's up there.
So I know. You're probably right.
Let's face it. The Bills are in the same situation. Okay, the Bills, the Broncos, and the Chargers are all going to be under the prove it. The big pressure to prove it. Whereas the Chiefs, and the Bengals don't really have that to prove because they've gotten to the big game.
Well, I'm not gonna lie here. I think Buffalo has a lot more to prove it on the offensive side than the defensive side, because the defense didn't really take much of a hit. Yeah, we lost AJ Klein, but honestly.
But what I mean, I should clarify. What I mean by prove it is making the big game in February.
Oh yeah.
In terms of that, it's. And they're all three under a blanket because initially I was going to say the Bills are number one and that's undisputed. But now the Chargers just made these big transactions. They have one that's pending right now. And then the Broncos traded for Russell Wilson. So now who's in there's 3 teams under a blanket who are in a huge prove-it situation this season.
Definitely truthful.
But the Bills slightly more than those other 2. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I'm not gonna not disagree there.
So, if you saw my Twitter on Wednesday afternoon, you might have seen the one time that I have gone on Twitter and gone on an absolute rampage, and it was directed at Buddy Boeheim's 1-game suspension. Um, so Buddy Boeheim, he punched a guy in the gut. It looked incidental, and he apologized multiple times. And unfortunately, words don't mean anything to the ACC. They decided, well, we're going to take Buddy Boeheim out. I'll actually read the tweets real quick that I said. So I'll read it out loud. So I'm not justifying what Buddy did was right, but the ACC's reaction to this was terrible. This is the first incident in 4 years for Buddy Boeheim. Compare that to the numerous incidents from Duke's own Grayson Allen, who had 4 years worth of terrible incidents of tripping, pushing, and I'm like, and 90% of which went unpunished.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not saying Cuse would have won had Buddy played. Okay, and today the way they played, they very well might have won with Buddy in the lineup, but we'll never know. But this was the ACC's way of to me, what I see it as is this was the ACC's way of being sure that Duke and Coach K gets one more ACC championship under his belt before he retires. And I added as well, if you don't think for 1 second that was what they were intending to do, then you are sadly mistaken. And I will just add in as well, that is such a shame that Buddy Boeheim's career had to end that way, because we know they're not making the tournament later today when Selection Sunday's on.
I agree. I will say, just the way that he got suspended off of that stupid old little frustration hit was the stupidest thing that could have happened.
Even frustration.
They're trying to do anything they could to help out Duke getting into the tournament, because I think NCAA, and don't get me wrong, I'm not, it's nothing like how NBA can be, but I feel like they might just somehow find a way, or find any kind of way to have Duke somehow win it all.
Yeah.
It kind of writes itself. And don't get me wrong, any sport can be like that, even college as well.
Yeah.
But it just seems like to me that, that was kind of like on purpose to have him suspended that one game, so then they could purposely have them lose to Duke, so Duke could get to the ASC, win the ASC championship, and get the bid for the tournament. That's just...
Well, Duke has an automatic bid right now. Here's the thing. According to Joe Lunardi's ESPN's bracketologist, of course, currently the ACC is, I believe, the weakest of the Power 5, technically Power 6 if you include the Big East, which should be included because Big East is big basketball. They only have 5 berths, according to Joe Lunardi. So ACC's not going to have many teams representing. Why is the bottom line. Okay, why would you suspend Buddy knowing damn well you were going to be only having 5 teams? Heck, if Syracuse beat Duke, you could argue for Syracuse being that team alone on that. I mean, because now, let's face it, Syracuse entering this game on Thursday, it was no shot in hell they're making it. No shot in hell. Okay? They beat Duke, and it's like, they move from absolutely no shot, nowhere in the picture, to maybe the last 4 out. So at least they're under consideration. They go to the semis, they win in the semifinals. Now it's like, man, now they're moving up the last 4 out. And then now you look at it, okay, they're in the ACC championship. Maybe they're the last 4 in. So
very well, Pop.
Yeah, so you're looking at it that way. And then, of course, they win the ACC championship. They're in no matter what.
Right.
So, I don't know. See, it's now just going to be a what could have been. And we know damn well if Syracuse made the tournament, they were going to be a threat. They always are. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good.
But yeah, so we all know damn well Syracuse, if they got in, they were headed at minimum to the round of 32. Okay? We knew at minimum it was going to be the round of 32. Alright.
Very well.
Sorry, I thought I lost you for a second there. Alright, so we're on to number 3. And of all the things that have happened in Conference Championship Week, this one stood out the most. Man, I'm telling you, we should just change the Tinkle rundown and Brian's takeaways from Brian's happy moments and Brian's blood pressure raising moments, because this one tops anything that would raise my blood pressure to an insane level. UNCW, they advanced to the NCAA tournament. They won their conference, but it didn't come without controversy. A charge called against Charleston with 2.4 seconds left in the game. A call that was 50-50 at best. And it determines who goes on to the NCAA tournament and which one goes home. I'm sorry. Bullshit is what I'm calling.
See, if anybody knows, like, the ruling between a block and a charge, let me coach you up here on some roughing. It's usually called a charge if the player has his feet planted into the ground and not moving. It is called a block if he shuffles his feet and are not planted.
No,
Thank you very much.
Here's what I will say. As much as you're right, with 2.4 seconds left in the game, why, if it's 50-50, why make the call?
Yeah, you should have just let them
Okay.
play for the last seconds of the
case-
game and ended it that way.
Worst case, in the final minute of an NCAA game, the clock freezes on a made basket. So UNCW gets the ball back with 2.4, 2.3 seconds left off of that. At least there's a chance to respond. And if they lose, they lose. If they win, they win. We've seen, one team, I think it was Longwood University, they made a basket in double coverage to advance to the NCAA tournament. Okay, so why not just let it play out and see what happens? Worst case, one team goes home. But why make the call to determine what team goes home? Okay.
Right.
I don't know. Those refs, I'm sorry. If they're conference refs, they should be fired instantly. They shouldn't have even been allowed to go get their stuff out of the locker room. They should have been just told, get out, you're done. So, that's my opinion. Of course, thank God I wasn't coaching that game, because let me tell you, I have not gotten a technical in 11 or 12 years. That would have gotten me a technical. Plain and simple. I would have gotten teed up.
You're probably thrown out the game.
Yep. You know me well enough to know I would have probably gotten tossed. So, but we'll leave it at that. When we come back, we'll talk the baseball, we'll talk some baseball. They're back. And then, of course, we got a tinkle on this. It's more a lighthearted one. Again, with everything going on in the world, I think it's more important to just laugh at the silly stuff as opposed to making fun of someone for making a stupid mistake. So, I think we both agree on that. So, we'll be...
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So we'll be right back after the break. You're watching Sunday Morning Tinkle on Tinkle Sports and Entertainment. Well, if you heard me at the beginning of the show, I said we're back. Holding this up. But yeah, So baseball returns. MLB's Players Association and the MLB have agreed to terms on a new CBA one day after MLB has canceled yet another 2 weeks of baseball games. There's really no details about the full terms of the CBA. One thing I know that was floated was an international player draft, which I honestly agree with because, let's face it, every year there's some international phenom that comes out or wants to come to the States and play. And every single year it comes down to who has more money to sign them as opposed to a draft like you'd see in the NBA. I mean, could you imagine if the NBA and Luka Doncic came out to the States and said, I want to play basketball, and instead of going through the draft, he just got signed by the team with the most money?
That would be crazy, man.
I mean, I don't even know. I don't even want to look back and see who had the cap space those years, but you know damn well someone would have signed him for a lot of money.
I mean, after winning the EuroLeague MVP and the championship, yeah, probably. I mean,
But no,
get a lot of upside. Because I hate to say it, they play more games in the EuroLeague than they do in the NBA. So,
yeah. But Jason, what are your thoughts here with baseball being back now?
finally, and I'm hoping the players are happy and getting compensated enough. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, I can't wait to see the full final details. But I'm glad to see baseball back. It's good because, I mean, minor leagues would have benefited from this. But now we get to see the 40-man rosters play. Definitely some innovations to the game, which is good for the future of baseball. And, on our note, on a little more selfish note, thank God, because I don't know. I mean, we were talking a lot this week, but I'm like looking ahead. I'm like, once the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup are done, what the hell are we going to talk about if there's no baseball? I mean, the World Cup is coming up. We'll obviously probably talk about that, but, not as much because you and I aren't big soccer fans. So,
We're not the big football fans.
yeah. But, of course, we'll cover it, and hopefully better than the Winter Olympics, but we'll try. That's the best we can say, but man, I'm telling you, I was nervous. I'm sitting there like, oh my God, what the hell are we gonna do? Like, I'm sitting here thinking, oh man, when June rolls around, we're gonna have to take like 2 months off till football season like American football season starts.
Yeah, no.
But thank God. Welcome back, baseball. And it's good for the summer because you know what? It's America's pastime. Fans will be back in the stands. It's going to be all good. So.
It's going to be all good.
Yep. But Tinkle on this time. I can't believe it. I thought the show would go a lot longer, but hey, we're on to Tinkle on this. So I'll let you read this one. It's an NBA one.
So, if anybody was seeing, the Warriors were heading out of their tunnel, and to a big shock, Will Ferrell actually dressed up as Jackie Moon. In the full gear and everything. Knee pads and everything. Wow. And then he was warming up with a team, him and Clay were messing around a little bit. Then some of the other people around the game were talking with him and messing around. But crazy to think about that Jackie Moon warmed up with the team and almost acted like he was a Golden State Warrior for a bit, even though he was full-fledged in 70s Flint Tropics gear. So, as far as a sequel, it would be nice to see. I think there's definitely a lot of upside and a good enough plot for a modern day semi-pro.
I'm always.
But the thing is that if it was modern day, then it wouldn't be the short shorts and the long socks like he did. So
I think you could do that. Like, I don't know, but I'm iffy on a sequel to begin with. Either way, it was really cool to see. And also, Will Ferrell made a shot from the logo. Nothing but net, should I note. So...
Hey, he's low-key good at sports. I mean, so was Adam Sandler. I hate to say it.
I don't know if that's necessarily Tinkle on this, but man, I'll tell you, that's a good way to end the week, I guess, or start a new week.
No, I think it's definitely Tinkle on this because I was not expecting it. It was kind of of hilarious to see him go out there and
Tinkle on this
act
Golden
like
State Warriors, I guess. But yeah, but no, it was fun to watch. So, of course, that's gonna conclude things here for this week. So before we even get to anything else, Jason, what's coming up this week? No Final Bell.
Holy shit. What a hell of a freaking pay-per-view there was. There was a lot of debuts. And we got another one. If everybody was watching, Jeff Nero Hardy is All Elite. He is finally no more with WWE. He is now in AEW as he joined up with his brother. And that just means bigger and better things for the Hardys as they're on their last hurrah. And there's one title that they have added to their tag team expedition of gold, if you will, and that is the AEW World Tag Team titles. As far as that, what is coming up on Out of Turn 4?
Oh, actually, before I even mention that, I might be a week behind. There's a reason I don't co-host No Final Bell with these guys, besides the fact that I'm a complete knucklehead, or I deal enough with those two knuckleheads, so... yeah, so... Isn't it also Steve Austin that came back as well, but not with AEW?
No, yeah, so, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Owens laid down the challenge to Steve Austin that he wanted to face him at WrestleMania 38, where to the next day, he actually accepted the challenge and he will be wrestling for the first time in 19 years. The last time he competed was at WrestleMania 19 against The Rock for the third time, and finally got the win over The Rock at that WrestleMania. So actually, I can't remember. I think Austin won 2 and The Rock won the third. It was either vice versa, but Austin, the last time you saw him was at WrestleMania, and now 19 years later, he is returning to face off against Kevin Owens in a battle of who's got the better stunner.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think it's what it's going to be built up as, because if anybody knows about what Kevin Owens did, he talked crap about Texas and Texans and called out Steve Austin. So,
yeah, but this could be good. Either way, it's going to draw ratings. It's probably going to be one of the better WrestleManias. I know nothing about wrestling, but I imagine it'll be, in terms of ratings, it'll be one of the better WrestleManias, because the ones that are nostalgic will want to watch Steve Austin there.
You're probably right about that, because there's Roman versus Brock in a world title unification match, so probably
it's going to be more nostalgic than it is good.
Well, yeah, and that's usually how WWE goes about things nowadays.
Yeah, so
and if anybody's been watching No Final Bell, you know I'm very indifferent about what WWE is doing as of late, so we will definitely talk about that to high extent on the next episode of No Final Bell.
So, of course, we don't have much to talk about early season, but on Out of Turn 4, we'll be recapping the final race of the West Coast Swing at Phoenix. Last week, we got some interesting news about a new race team. That was shocking, but sorry, I'm kind of bouncing back and forth. The other thing we will talk about is Nikita Mazepin. Of course, we mentioned he got fired from Haas due to his relationship with Vladimir Putin. And let's just say things are taking an ugly turn in terms of Nikita Mazepin ever getting a shot again. It's taken a very ugly turn, but his replacement has been named, and his replacement is a pretty familiar name to those in the sport, and one that I personally wish this wasn't the guy. Not because of his talent, but because I feel there were so much greater opportunities available than going back to F1. Of course, everyone knows my opinions on F1 if you watch Out of Turn 4. And of course, we'll be predicting... I don't even know where we're going NASCAR-wise, but I can tell you we will be predicting IndyCar at Texas. That's bad of me to say, but it's true. I'm not thinking ahead right now.
Hey man, look, you've been doing that show how many episodes? And if you have no plan, I don't know.
It's been a while. It's been a while. All right, let's look it up. So, yeah, they're going to Phoenix this Sunday, and then they're going to Atlanta. So we'll also talk about Atlanta Motor Speedway, which has gotten the repave, what we expect and whatnot. That'll all be coming your way on Out of Turn 4. And another thing we can add to the schedule this week, we will be doing our bracket releases. So be sure to tune in. We're going to try to fill them out Monday, and then we'll record Tuesday. Expect our special to be Wednesday night about 7 o'clock probably. It'll be on YouTube and Facebook Watch. What?
That's going to be interesting. So, yeah. For at least 1 week only, it's going to be one thing on Wednesday at 5, and then one thing on Wednesday at 7.
Yeah, it's unfortunately because March Madness starts at noon on Thursday. That's why I figured we get it out the day before. So we'll be doing it at 7 to ensure that probably around 7 or 8 to ensure that we're not overlapping 2 shows. So be sure to tune in. We'll of course have our full brackets and our predictions for upsets. So be sure to tune in. Again, it'll be Wednesday 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern. It will be on YouTube and Facebook Watch, so be sure to check us out. Until then, guys, thank you all for watching, and we will see you on Wednesday or next Sunday. Until then, goodbye, everyone.